Galnet News, your galaxy in focus, 21st of June, 3301. In today's news, Chancellor Blaine addresses the state of the Emperor. Adels Armada defies all galactic powers. Treachery within the Kumo crew. The Dellcar Company has big aspirations. What does Burnham Beacon have to hide? Kappa Fornacis calls federal freedom into question. And Prime Minister Mahon announces open trade agreement in the Old Worlds. Our top story today is from the Empire, where Chancellor Blaine has made an address on the state of Emperor Hengist Duval. Caradras McCall has the story.
Chancellor Blaine made an appearance before the Senate today in order to provide an update on the Emperor's health, following the attempt on the Emperor's life a little over a month ago. "I'm pleased to report that the Emperor is recovering nicely," the Chancellor began. There was some small concern that an excessive amount of toxins had been allowed to take root in the Emperor's body, but His Grace's physicians have proven themselves more than up to the task of removing them. Similarly, praise must go to Princess Livigny, whose invaluable assistance in tracking down the conspirators led to the restoration of the Emperor's justice in several dozen systems, a fact which I am sure will be of great comfort to those who are worried that the Duval legacy would be allowed to fall into ruin. Doubtless the princess's father would be extremely proud. On that note, I'm pleased to announce that His Grace, Emperor Hengist Duval, has begun to show signs of returning to good health. The Emperor's personal physicians have assured me that should His Grace continue to heal at his current rate, the Emperor will almost certainly make a full recovery. Hail the Emperor, bask in his glory.
Little news has come from the Empire on the state of Emperor Hengist in recent weeks, leading some to speculate that he might already have passed away, but this latest news appears to confirm not only that he continues to survive, but that he might soon be stepping back into the spotlight as the head of one of the major galactic powers. There were fears for the Emperor's safety a little over a month ago after a security breach in the palace pharmacy allowed an unknown perpetrator to gain access to the Emperor's medical supplies. Although the suspect has not yet been identified and brought to justice, it appears this assailant was unsuccessful and the Emperor's health was not severely affected. Some questions over the continuation of the Duval line were raised during the Emperor's time in his coma, including the claim of Arissa Livigny, daughter of Florence Livigny, whose wedding to the Emperor had to be cancelled at short notice as he fell ill, and Aisling Duval, granddaughter to the Emperor, whose own political motives seem quite distant to those of the Senate. Whatever the case might be in the succession proceedings, the Emperor's improving health might serve to allay any questions over his replacement, and this will be welcome news for many of those in today's Empire. Leadership from Adels Armada, a long-standing Federation-leaning vigilante group, has announced that it is officially declaring itself undeclared in the galactic power struggle between politicians, slavers and warlords. The Armada will instead be creating its own power based upon its particular rule of law in the Engaliba system, where it has been headquartered since its inception in 2900 as the federal half of the INRA combat force. Post Commander Tylerius Adel pulled his fighting force out of the secretive organization in 3200 and rebranded it Adels Armada. Today, the Armada still shrouds itself in secrecy and claims it only recruits the finest and cleanest of combat pilots into its ranks. The group has been known to spring up in times of need and defend those against, they say, those who do evil in the galaxy. Adels Armada will effectively be its own power in the galaxy, occupying the systems bordering Engaliba, including Cremain, Mabukaravi, and strategic systems Teiwira, CD349020, and Q1 Eridani. Some news from the Pegasus Sector now, where Archon Delaine's plans for the conquest of Lalonde 45165 were derailed last week after a rogue group within his organization successfully sabotaged the project. According to unconfirmed reports, this group used a vast private fortune to bribe and influence key members of the Kumo crew in order to divert over 30,000 tons of contraband toward the virtually uninhabited system of Wu Chelkin. This effectively strangled the preparation of the invasion, thus delaying any deployment into Lalonde 45165. While the Kumo crew struggles to recover from this sabotage, many within the organization are looking for answers and revenge. Galnet News received reports implicating members of the Mercenaries of Mahon and Interstellar United in the sabotage. Several independent groups have pledged to Archon Delaine, such as the Code, the Cosmic State Vikings, and Contrail, and they have vowed to hunt down any members of these organizations in retaliation. In response to this unusual situation, the Merchant Marines have publicly denounced what they described as cloak and dagger tactics from the mercenaries of Mahon and Interstellar United. Although the Merchant Marines are not known for their love of pirates, they consider this sabotage to be unworthy of well-respected members of the Pilots Federation. This is, however, a controversial opinion, since many neutral commenters argued that this internal sabotage was a legitimate tactic to take out a dangerous criminal organization. Whatever the long-term outcome of this sabotage within the Kumo crew, it is certain to serve as a warning to all powers in civilized space to be vigilant of foes disguising themselves as friends. And in some related Kumo crew news, rumours coming from Harmar suggest that the Pirate King Archon Dellane is furious at the chaotic, incompetent and downright treacherous actions being carried out in his name. So much so that Dellane has dispatched the Kumo crew enforcers to deal with the matter personally. Those who find themselves blocking the Kumo crew's spread throughout the Pegasus Sector apparently will pay the price for their defiance. The Dellcar Company, a mining concern in the Federation-controlled system of Dellcar, is a corporate group on the rise. Making no secret of the fact that they aim to topple the local independent dictatorship, the Freedom Party of Dellcar, which currently controls the system's 2 stations, Dellcar Company has been steadily growing over the past 6 months and building up a friendly relationship with Imperial concerns in nearby Cordorain. Commander Outlandish Pixel recently confirmed the finalization of a long-term security contract with the Mastopolis Mining Corporation and Zemina Torval, and the company is currently recruiting commanders with mining vessels to help the company mine out its pristine reserves. The commander said, "Mining is now more dangerous than ever, but by joining us we can ensure that operations are safe, efficient and lucrative." Indeed, Dellcar Company is not just recruiting mining ships, but combat pilots too, as Commander Outlandish Pixel explained. He said, "We provide security for our own mining teams, and due to our contract with Zemina Torval, our free protection extends to those allied with the Empire. The services of the Dellcar Company can be requested by outside groups, as long as they do not conflict with the interests of Dellcar Company or Senator Zemina Torval. However, those trade and mining ships not under the direct employ of Dellcar Company or allied to the Empire will be subject to a security tax under the new Dellcar Company policies." Outlandish Pixel says, "We are a business, not a militia, so we would prefer that enemies of the Empire complied. Those who would refuse will be politely asked to leave or dealt with." He also added, "Our conduct might seem controversial, but it's a dog-eat-dog galaxy and commanders need protecting whether they like it or not. You may call us scum and villainy, but don't take it personally. It's just business. 30% of your metal is a small price to pay for your safety." At over a 500,000 light-second journey from the star system's jump point, Burnham Beacon doesn't get much traffic. Could this far-flung port have something to hide? The distant outpost, run by the independent cooperative HIP 59533 Shed, is in fact the only dock at HIP 59533, and is the infamous market for Burnham bile distillate. The liquor is one of the galaxy's most expensive alcoholic beverages, surpassed only by Centauri Mega Gin, and has long been the target of outraged protests at its method of production. The human bodily fluids used in the distillation process are extracted from willing donors and consenting slaves, the producers of the drink say, but human rights groups tell horror stories of undercover investigations revealing appalling battery farm conditions in which slaves are kept cheek by jowl and are most definitely not consenting, kept alive through considerable pain until the extraction process claims their lives. Galnet reporter Statira Aleshanar arrived at Burnham Beacon unannounced as just another commander passing through. Burnham bile distillate was readily available to purchase in the station's modest commodities market, and advertisements for the product were scattered throughout the station. Expressing an interest in the production process, she was at first discouraged from investigating, but then taken behind the scenes. In a small medical facility on the station, she observed a seated slave being tended to by medical staff as bodily fluids were extracted. Medical staff seemed solicitous of the slave's well-being, but the slave himself, a young man by the name of Alex, was withdrawn and uncommunicative. Watched at all times by station staff, she had no opportunity to look behind the scenes, but what is clear is that the slaves here are in lifelong bondage, not the paid contract of indentured servitude of imperial slaves. As she departed the station, she observed an adder making supply runs loading up a Type 9 Heavy. She waited to see where the Type 9 was departing to, but was quickly confronted by HIP 59533 shared authority vessels and told in no uncertain terms to leave. Rumour has it that the rich and famous, with a predilection for Burnham bile distillate, are secretly supplied direct from the outpost, with fingers being pointed at an array of suspects from the Imperial Royal Family to the new President of the Federation. Thus far, the powers of the galaxy have not commented either to confirm or deny these accusations. It has been some time since the Kappa Fornacis Farmers Union has dared to draw attention to itself beyond its home system. However, following a reported trade deal with one of Senator Zemina Torval's corporations, the farmers of Panem look a good deal more confident. Giorgio Algeria, spokesman for the Kappa Fornacis Farmers Union, had this to say on the subject.
Like, even with the new president, they won't win. What we have is great, and you can't keep greatness down. That Hudson guy's too uptight. He needs to, like, chill, man. And I've got just the thing for him. Alright. Everything in moderation, my friends. Sims are cool. Hudson's kids don't need to win no prizes for proving who's the best at killing. They need to chill, man, to care about each other, to get in touch with their roots. The Empire's cool with us. Slavery's not cool, but at least they're doing something about it. These Fed kids signing up to the Navy, bombing our children, how's that not slavery, man? Which is better? You don't think it be like it is, but it do.
It has been several months since the events of Kappa Fornacis blew over, in which a Federation bombing campaign saw the apparent destruction of the native narcotic crop, Onion Head, and which aimed to destroy the entire economy of Kappa Fornacis, which depended upon the crop for its survival. It later transpired that other strains of Onion Head could be cultivated on other worlds, including the Lucan Onion Head of Tanmark, and more recent reports even suggest that Onion Head is back in production on Panem in Kappa Fornacis, which could be the subject of the trade deal between the Farmers Union and Senator Torval's corporation. And some news from the Alliance. During a press conference in Alioth earlier today, Prime Minister Edmund Mahon expressed his gratitude towards the independent pilots who supported his initiative to strengthen the Alliance's economic presence in the Old Worlds cluster. Mahon declared his intention to keep the cluster open for all traders of different affiliations and has announced an open trade agreement that will grant any trader safe passage. To ensure the safety of trader ships in the sector, Prime Minister Mahon has commissioned the Alliance Defence Force to establish a permanent presence in the sector to counter the growing threats to civilian traders from piracy and crime. The deployment of this new Alliance strike force is expected to take place within the next few weeks. This announcement puts Prime Minister Mahon directly at odds with infamous piracy group The Code, who have already declared the Old Worlds as a region they describe as the New Caribbean, a reference to the area of Earth which was heavily affected by piracy during its golden age of sail. However, the Code have recently pledged support of Archon Delane and the Kumo crew in the Pegasus Sector, so it is unclear at this stage whether they will have the numerical strength to continue to disrupt trade in their New Caribbean region, or whether they are fully committed to Delane's operation. That's the Galnet news for today. Tune in next time to keep your galaxy in focus.